You can count this new for 2026 Nissan Rogue Rock Creek as the latest in the line of sort of rugged small crossovers that have really grown in popularity since the pandemic. Think the Subaru Forester Wilderness, the Honda CR-V TrailSport, or the Toyota RAV4 Woodland. Now, it doesn't go quite as far as that Forester in terms of capability, but it's definitely a step up from both the RAV4 and the CR-V. But more importantly, this thing is more affordable than all of them, which makes it an intriguing option that doesn't compromise on the essentials.
1, 2, 3, go!
For more expert car reviews, don't forget to share our channel and subscribe so you can catch some of this and maybe even a little of that. All right, now before we get too deep into this, I should talk about the fact that there's a new version of the Rogue that should be here for the 2027 model year, which makes the arrival of this Rock Creek version kind of late to the game. And since I don't imagine Nissan's gonna go the route that Subaru did with the Forester Wilderness, which arrived kind of late in the life cycle of the last generation, so it continued to build that Wilderness version alongside a new generation for a couple years, this is going to be a one and done. Anyways, it's easy to tell it apart from the rest of the lineup, not just in terms of the unique paint colors you can get, including this Baja Storm that I really like, the orange accents. You can also see that front end looks a little bit different. You get this very beefy roof rack up here and the right kind of all-terrain tires, but the best part is they don't get too noisy out on the pavement, and that can be a problem with aggressive treads like this. They get very noisy on the pavement, even if they perform well off of it. This is sort of the best of both worlds. And then beyond that trim-specific stuff, I think the Rogue is a bit of a sleeper pick in terms of spaciousness, and my favorite part is just how wide these rear doors open. That's pretty much a full 90 degrees, and it means if you've got little ones that need help getting in and out of their car seats, you have tons of room to operate. There's also all kinds of legroom in the second row, even if it doesn't necessarily look like it on the spec sheet. All right, getting back to what I mentioned earlier, there is a new version of the Rogue that should be here for next year, which makes the life cycle of this one a little shorter than normal since this is only the 6th model year. But to be honest with you, it feels kind of stale anyway, so that new one is going to be a welcome change. And yeah, part of it is because just about every one of the Rogue's key competitors has been updated in the last few years, but this does feel a little bit old. So what's the big advantage of buying this one right here, right now? Well, I would have to say it is price, especially if you're looking at one of these pseudo adventurous trims, because the Rogue Rock Creek starts at right around 43.5 grand here in Canada before tax, which isn't too bad. You're gonna spend a good 49 grand if you wanna get into the RAV4 Woodland or the CR-V TrailSport. And yes, both of those are hybrids, and this one isn't. So this is the value pick, but it doesn't necessarily feel like it. Some of the stuff in here isn't great. Yeah, some of these plastics, I don't love them, but that's the case no matter which Rogue trim you're talking about. But in terms of features, and especially when you're looking at some of the stuff that helped to enhance this Rock Creek version, I feel like that's not a bad price at all. Now, no, the suspension isn't lifted the way it is in the Forester Wilderness, but you do get a hill descent control setting, which you don't get in any other Rogue trim. And then there are, of course, the same drive modes you get elsewhere. And I have to say, this snow setting, if you spin the dial over, it switches it over, and that's going to change the way the powertrain, the transmission, all of that stuff performs. There is a very noticeable difference. It really helps to inspire confidence. Some of these roads have not been plowed. We got a whole bunch of snow this week, and when in normal mode, it struggled a bit to get the torque down. That snow setting has really helped this thing perform way better than I expected it to. Now, of course, I talked about those all-terrain tires as well as that roof rack. You also get surround view cameras, which that is great to see. That's usually something that's reserved for the most expensive trim of any vehicle. Those do help when you're in an off-road setting. And of course, I don't expect people to be taking their Rogues on these grand adventures on, I don't know, some really gnarly trail. But if you do find yourself on, I don't know, some sort of cottage access road that is really rough, you are not going to have any issues, and those cameras are going to help you avoid some of the deepest, gnarliest ruts. So it is very cool to see those cameras included, as well as some of the other goodies like the tires, the roof rack, and that hill descent control setting. All right, so like I said, the CRV TrailSport as well as the RAV4 Woodland, both of those have hybrid powertrains. This one doesn't. It has a 1.5-liter turbocharged 3-cylinder engine. Yes, 3, not 4. Don't panic, there is plenty of power. 201 horsepower, 225 pound-feet of torque. It feels more than strong enough for this application. There is no concern that this engine is undersized. I also want to just take a quick second to talk about the engine because it is going to be included in the new version of the Rogue because Nissan is promising a hybrid, but it's a little different than you might be expecting, a little different than the CRV even, or the RAV4. I got a little sneak peek late last year by driving a Euro spec Nissan Qashqai, and it's a series hybrid instead of the more common parallel hybrid. So the engine basically acts like a generator. It's not directly connected to the wheels in any way. All it does is it generates electricity, puts it in the battery, and then that's what powers the wheels. So it performs more like an electric vehicle than a conventional hybrid. Very cool to see. And again, I do think this engine is right for this package. However, I have seen some concerns about the long-term reliability of it, and obviously that is worrying. Now, I haven't had any trouble with this one I'm testing, so it's hard for me to talk about specifically what's going on, but Nissan has had to issue some pretty serious recalls for failure for this variable compression technology, which is pretty novel and cool, but that's also what's leading to some of these issues because basically it can operate in the optimal range depending on the conditions that it's trying to satisfy. So whether that's efficiency or performance, it changes the compression ratio. So it's a higher number when it's operating more efficiently, a little bit lower when it's looking for that performance. And no, I'm not talking performance as in high performance. I'm just talking about passing power on the highway. If you're merging, you get your foot down. So that's going to change the compression ratio. Basically, the pistons aren't going to move as high inside the cylinders. And then with that higher compression ratio, well, they are going to do that because they are going to compress more air and fuel in the cylinders. But that is part of the problem. I think this is a very advanced technology that Nissan hasn't quite worked all the bugs out yet. So yes, I am concerned about the long-term viability of this engine. But as far as my experience goes, it has been pretty good, including when it comes to how much gas it burns. It's officially rated to go through about 8 liters per 100 kilometers. Yes, I've been doing a little bit worse than that, but it is very cold this week. And as you can see, we've had all kinds of snow. So I'm willing to give it a pass because when I was out on the highway the other day, I had it well below that 8-liter mark. And that is what you want to see. No, it's not as good as a hybrid, but don't forget, one should be on its way. Now, in the meantime, this setup feels pretty normal. There's an automatic continuously variable transmission that's paired with that 3-cylinder engine and, of course, all-wheel drive. Now, no, you cannot change it. It does everything on its own. Those drive modes are going to dictate what happens, but it's a fully automated system, and I think it's perfectly fine. The same goes with the transmission. It's maybe not quite as good as Subaru's CVTs. I know a lot of people have problems with CVTs, but this thing operates pretty comfortably, no real concerns. My only concern is this stupid gear selector. And listen, I am actually a big fan of the change to shift-by-wire because it opens up storage in the cabin. And as you can see here, there is a pass-through bin underneath this center console specifically because there is no need for any sort of shift linkage anymore. This thing is entirely electronic. But the problem is this thing is so flimsy and cheap, it feels like it wouldn't take much force to rip it right off the center console. So I don't like that, but I do like the rest of the switchgear in here. Everything on the steering wheel makes a lot of sense. Same with down here. I love that the climate controls have a dedicated LCD screen so you can see your temperature and fan speed. It doesn't take up any space on this somewhat small 8-inch touchscreen. The only issue here, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are both wired instead of wireless. That's another reason this thing feels a little outdated, because wireless connections come only with the Rogue's top trim that has a bigger screen. I don't think it's a big deal, especially if you've never lived with it before, but if you have, you might find it a little bit of a pain to have to take your phone out of your pocket or your purse and plug it in every time you get behind the wheel. And then another way this thing feels a little bit outdated is ProPilot Assist, Nissan's driver assist systems. Now, there is a slightly more advanced version that, again, is reserved for the most expensive version of the Rogue. The kind of 1.0 system that you get here, it's just not quite as refined as some competitors. And I remember when this system came out, it felt pretty cutting edge, especially for a mainstream model. But times have changed rather quickly, and this just doesn't feel quite as smooth and refined. But you do get all the safety systems, blind spot monitoring, lane departure warning and keeping assistance, forward collision warning, and of course, adaptive cruise control. And it all works as advertised. And then other than that stuff, you get a heated steering wheel and front seats, dual zone automatic climate control, subscription-based satellite radio. There is even a height programmable power tailgate, which I have to say, not bad for the price you'll pay for this thing. To recap, I like the upgrades that come with the Rogue's Rock Creek package, its reasonable asking price, and how spacious it is. I don't like the wired smartphone connections, the flimsy gear selector, or the question marks around the engine's reliability. There is no denying that these sort of pseudo off-roaders are popular these days, and the Rogue Rock Creek is yet another to add to the growing list. More than that though, it feels like the right kind of package for the right kind of price.